Hello guys, and welcome back to another Spore creation video, and for today's creation we're going to be making a DodoReaper, which is a ARK Survival Evolved fan concept. The way that I'd come up with this concept was quite simply during a recent ARK Survival Evolved livestream. A couple of us in the chat were just playing with the idea of some kind of a Dodo variant, like Dodo Titan, Dodo Diplo, all these silly little things, and it got me thinking about how in ARK we have the Dodo Rex, which is a special event creature introduced in the island. We have the Dodo Wyvern, a special event creature introduced on Scorched Earth, but we don't have anything for Aberration, and therefore the Reaper seemed like a really perfect fit. Mainly because I just didn't think about the Rock Drake, I just assumed Reaper. So, for this creation, as you guys have seen, I did actually start off with my original Reaper Queen body. Since this is going to be heavily Reaper orientated, it just made sense to use her body and work my way through that. So that's what I did. And to start off with, of course, the most important part by far is the head. Trying to make that big old dodo beak. So for this, it was quite a struggle to have the head not feeling too large, considering how for the Dodo Rex and the Dodo Wyvern, both their, dodo heads are very large and they really stand out compared to the rest of the body. And additionally, with the Reaper Queen and Reaper King, due to their crests, all their frills and all that stuff going on with their skulls, their heads are also very large. And it came to quite an interesting dilemma when it came to this creation, because on the one hand, I wanted to have all these features, all these spikes, all these quills, all this crazy stuff going on, but then on the other hand, they had to be the same colour, and the only way I could get a colour is by using the Nail Down's colour pack. And, in the end, it went for a very blocky design, which I was coming back and forth dealing with. When it came to the DodoReaper's body, so it is of course a Reaper body, but I felt like I can imagine this creature being a bit larger, and also maybe this is me being a bit critical to myself, but I felt like that the Reaper Queen body was a little bit scrawly, so I went ahead and, made it thicker, made the whole thing a little bit more thick, a little bit larger, a little bit chunkier, more musculature in general. And as we progress on through the creation, I actually made the ribcage significantly larger as well, as when I compared it to the Dodo Wyvern and particularly the Dodo Rex, they're both very chunky kind of creatures. Plus, I'm thinking of a dodo in general, a bird who had very large chests or rib cages, so I figured that would kind of suit the general form I was going for overall. Of course, we go back again, playing a little bit more of the skull, trying to add in a couple of features here and there, as it felt far too angular, too, triangular, and it felt really odd. Especially with the eyes. The eyes are probably the biggest issue. Arguably, I could have circumvented all of this by just simply remaking the head instead of, altering it. But in the end, I felt like I hit a fairly decent balance. I didn't want to remake the head because I wanted to retain the general Reaper Queen-ness of the creation. Whereas if I remake it, I run the risk of, kind of losing that essence. Although I guess arguably you can retain that essence throughout the rest of the creation. When it came to the typical Reaper spines going down, the back of her head, kind of mohawk kind of thing, I wanted to redo them because of course they snapped out the way, but I wanted to remake them that way the creation was a little bit more unique, not quite just a clone of a Reaper. But also to change the thin parts to one side of texture slightly differently, that'd be more vibrant later on. And of course, just to make them larger, fewer in between, I didn't want the frill to be as large and, exaggerated or more like as numerous as the original Reaper. I wanted it to be more of a kind of a bit of a toned back feature, and just having the four of them kind of felt like it fit that bill. And of course, if you're gonna have a dodo, obligatory feathers. For the feather design, I was really heavily basing this on the Reaper, on the Dodo Rex, which has the really adorable little fluffy hand wing things, a bit of fluff here and there as well. I was originally thinking of having the little dodo wings, kind of like how the Dodo Wyvern has, so I thought that'd be quite nice and humorous. But in the end, I felt like just having the fluffy hands and arms would be a little bit better for this kind of thing. But to help balance it off, I had a lot of feathers here and there as well. I have to admit, in the end, it just looks like a very fluffy Reaper, but I'm hoping that the general dodo vibeness is still there and, kicking it strong. I understand that in terms of hybrids, this one, I'm kind of torn. On the one hand, I really do like the outcome, I really do. I'm very happy with how it came out, but on the other hand, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's quite selling that whole dodo vibe to me personally, but hey, maybe I'm just being a bit too critical. It's kind of hard to compare a theme and a style when there's only 2 existing examples, so perhaps I'm being a bit harsh. When it came to the colour scheme, I knew I wanted brown. I was really fighting the urge to go for like purples and greys and blacks, that whole xenomorph colour scheme for the Reaper, because after all, the Dodo Wyvern and Dodo Rex are brown variants of their usual creatures. You compare a Dodo Wyvern to any other Wyvern, and the other Wyverns are very colourful, whereas the Dodo Wyvern is, again, brown. So I had to really resist a lot of urges there. And when it came to the overall colour scheme, I stuck with the brown. I added a bit of so I stuck with the dark brown for the rest of the, paint scheme, and much like the Dodo Rex. I had a bit of extra orange, just so that the face feels a little bit, less out of place, as that is normally a bit of a struggle when it comes to these kind of creations. The face or the beak tends to feel really out there. And then I finished off with a bit of a light purple hue around the rest of the colour scheme, just to give it a bit of a tint, especially like certain lighting. That way it still kind of retains a bit of the Reaper vibe in terms of colour scheme as well as form. And overall, I like it. I do like it. Now, I don't always come up with these creations with behaviour and, mechanics in mind, but after I finished this creation and showed it off a bit in the Patreon channels, I kind of had a couple of ideas as to how this creature would behave if it were, say, ever to be modded into ARK. And one of the ideas that we had was it could, breathe fire, as well as having the venom attack from the tail. That could be the same, so it could be like a pure hybrid between a Dodo Rex and a Reaper Queen. But additionally, one really outlandish and silly idea that I had was, since it is, after all, a Reaper Queen, it could impregnate raptors. And the reason why I say raptors is because we already had the whole impregnation of a player. Maybe the impregnation of a dinosaur would be a little bit more interesting. Like perhaps it will impregnate it, put on really low HP, it's going to survive for the duration of the birth, and when it's birthed, the dinosaur is sacrificed and killed. And what you get in return is a raptor-sized, or at least a very, very tiny Dodo Reaper. I thought that'd be just a nice little humorous idea. Maybe that could be like the player's way of getting one. Maybe the Dodo Reaper itself can't be tameable, but you can get your own little spawnling of one. Just a very silly little idea, but one that I thought would be quite funny. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and look forward to the next one. Subscribe if you want to see more, and hit the notification bell so that you do not miss out, or properly join my Discord so that you really don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.